Hi, everybody. Mike Schopp, Adam Krautwurst, the Deep End, Fantasy Football, May 23rd, 2023. We're going to draft an underdog Best Ball Mania 4 team together. And doing so, I mean, you guys have probably all watched us or other podcasts, draft, and it's interesting because people are on the clock in decisions and you see what they would really do with their own money. So we'll have some fun doing that today. Also, talk first about a couple of trends and news topics right now in football, starting with today's news on Austin Eckler. What does it mean to his draft position? And we'll try to, if it's possible, to fit it in, figure out the San Francisco quarterback room. Should be fun. Thanks for watching and listening. Brought to you by the Player Profiler Network. Mike and Adam, we are the Deep End.
The Bills, baby.
Yes. Not only is this a Bills mug, but for those of you who are listening to us and not watching us, there's coffee in it because we're recording in the morning.
Yeah.
So when we do a draft, it's the only way we can avoid Nick.
That's right. We got to be incognito. It's the only way we can avoid Nick and lacrosse, football, soccer, baseball, basketball games for the kids in the evening.
Incognito, in Costantino. I love Nick. I even thought about texting him and Louis, like, okay, at around a certain time, we're going to push play on a draft just in case, to surprise you. But then I thought, no, man, I want to win this thing. And he might be in there anyway.
Oh, right. Exactly. He probably carves out
guys.
days where he just drafts all day long, so.
Oh, that's the best though, isn't it? Like Friday night, I got home from work and no one was here for some reason for like 2 hours. Well, my son had lacrosse practice. My daughter had a sleepover. Not that you care, but like I had 2 hours. Like, oh, let's go. So I'm up to 17 of these drafts already, I think, for Memorial Day, and that was not the plan.
I was gonna say, you sent me that. I'm like, wow, he's hitting it hard this year. My wife is taking my daughter to Sesame Place right outside of Philly, Thursday to Saturday. So I'm already checking the bank account. See what that's looking like, because we might get. I might max on her in 2 days. So
nice.
We'll see.
Memorial Day is my favorite holiday.
Yeah. Parties.
I love everything about it. It's meaningful. Most holidays are meaningful in certain ways, but this is a solemn, it's meaningful. I like to think and ponder. And so Memorial Day starts there, but then beginning of summer here in Western New York, where it's almost always a beautiful day, even like 80 and sunny, just perfection, looks good for this year again for Memorial Day. And then it's just like hot dogs and swimming. It's not put a sweater on, take a shower so we can go to Aunt Betsy's. This is just, very casual. I like to host on Memorial Day, and then, the fact that it's the beginning of the season makes it different than Labor Day. The kids are going back to school and summer's ending. So it is my favorite holiday, and it almost always comes through when it comes to the weather. We might have, by the way, speaking of Memorial Day, sort of a special plan for next week, but we don't know for sure yet, so that'll have to stay secret.
Yes.
Aren't you glad I brought it up?
Yes.
Let's talk about a couple things. Like I said already, Adam, Austin Eckler is staying with the Chargers. This was, I think, always the most likely scenario. There was, because he was upset, you wonder about a holdout, although often that doesn't come to fruition. There was and still is, though, a decent chance there's somebody else there, I think, in LA. Like you have 3 veteran running backs, at least, that are big names still unsigned, which makes them interesting in drafts too. Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, and Kareem Hunt. The Chargers are giving Eckler incentives to sort of, compromise here with him. I don't know what it's going to mean, though, necessarily. Like, you feel better about him today because of that, but there might still be more happening with them, I think.
Yeah, and it makes sense too. You get Eckler's getting up there in age, right? He's a year younger than Christian McCaffrey, and he's also not the biggest back in the world either. So, again, I don't think that would be the worst thing. And they've tried it before. Josh Kelly, guys like that. They haven't really spent big draft picks on running backs, but yeah, it would make sense to bring somebody in to kind of take some of the workload away. And I also feel like Eckler really shouldn't be dinged much for that either. Even if they do bring in, let's say, a Zeke Elliott, as long as Eckler keeps the goal line role, which might be threatened by Zeke, and the passing down role. I mean, they're looking. It looks like they're looking to push the ball down more field, bring in the new offensive coordinator, draft a receiver in the first round. Like it looks like they're trying to push the ball downfield more too, which is good for Eckler to get involved. He's so involved in the passing game. I mean, he has those games where he's got 9 fantasy points, and then all of a sudden, one drive he has 6 catches, and that's it for his fantasy day. So, yeah, I don't think that would change for me. I think he'd still be. I don't think it would affect any ADP wherever I have him. I mean, I'm taking him right now as number 3 or 4. I'm taking him behind, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson in that range, because I would rather be off on him a year early with injuries and stuff like that than a year late.
Did exactly 1,200 regular season touches, Eckler, and he turned 28 last week. Yeah, I also tend to be cautious here, but you can, of course, get burned. I, thinking in terms of underdog, like the draft will do today, I don't know that I've drafted him at all yet. I'm ready to at 10, 11, but have not been able to. Last night I was in one where I picked 12th, and at 11, Eckler was available. I'm like, all right, this is that's how I want to do it, but it hasn't happened for me yet. And I would take him ahead of Jonathan Taylor. I think with Richardson in Indianapolis, love Taylor's talent. Who doesn't? But not as in love with how that projects for me. So for me, it would go McCaffrey 1, Robinson 2, and then Eckler 3, and then maybe Barkley also ahead of Taylor. You have a quick thought on like Barkley's ADP last year, maybe also the year before? We were all about Saquon Barkley, and that was profitable. What about now? Are you sensing maybe there's again a little bit of hesitation on him, or no?
Yeah, I think there kind of is. I mean, I was so excited to take, we talked about it much last year. Barkley, starting the draft season, we were able to get him in the 3rd round, and then he flew all the way up to like the 104 in some like main event drafts, like because guys wanted their shares. According to Player Profiler, he settled in right now at 12, ADP of 12. So we're at the 1-2 turn there. I'm fine with him there. There's not a ton of upside there as the RB4. I don't think he's got the RB1 upside because I just think the offense is going to be good enough. You have to have, like 100 or more targets or 15, 14 touchdowns to be able to do the RB1 upside. The touchdowns could certainly be there. I don't know if the catches will be there, although he's certainly capable of it. But healthy, he's a safe pick. And that's kind of how all those guys are in there. Like we were talking about Austin Eckler. Like I'm not going to have a ton of him, but when I do, I'm going to base that draft based on him staying healthy and him being the guy. Like you can't draft scared either. Like if you're worried about injury, you can't draft a running back early that you think might get injured and then draft 3 or 4 more early, because then that defeats the whole purpose. Now you're playing catch up the whole time. You have to do that draft based on that player staying healthy. But yeah, back to Barkley. I think that he's totally capable of finishing in the top 5 for sure. But it's not as sexy to me as it was last year, because I wasn't. I feel like this is where he was like maxing out a lot. Was at the 12, 13 pick, and I'd much rather have him in like the late second.
Yeah, that's what last year it was. Colts Giants in week 17, and the early season or early off season opportunities were the Taylor Barkley start at 101.
Yeah,
Perhaps, which, maybe didn't turn out that great. Either way, I mentioned how Eckler has exactly 1,200 touches. It's just a coincidence because I just went and looked up Barkley. He has 1,201
which
for his
is,
career.
and he's missed, and Barkley's younger, and he's missed,
2
more
years younger.
time, obviously. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Funny that they're 1 apart, and maybe they will be in our draft today. I got to bring up the 49ers and Trey Lance. You and I both listen to a lot of our friends in the industry and their shows, and Lance is the guy now that everybody keeps coming back to on my stuff, because I heard Davis Maddock put it this way the other day, like nobody knows what to do with San Francisco. There was a little bit of positive news on Purdy recently, and this is another one where you have to decide on your own whether you believe the team, because the team has been, for the most part, consistent on that Brock Purdy is their preference. So then you have Lance, Adam, and in these drafts, he's cheaper than ever, but he's still the same sort of, kind of a fantasy darling if you get him on the field. I think one thing that isn't said often enough about Lance, because the conversation about him it just tends to be, of course, disappointment. 2 years and he hasn't asserted himself. He hasn't, you know, at all lived up to 3 overall, his draft status. But I don't hear it mentioned very often that he did have a broken ankle or broken foot. It cost him the season last year in like week 2. And, you don't want to blame him for that. You don't want to assume too much here. The 49ers have been fairly obvious, it seems, if you believe them, about their opinions on him. And that is what's sort of scary about drafting him. But he did miss the year to an injury. He had the one game in the monsoon in Chicago where there weren't even yard lines. And then you had the injury in the next game. So don't forget that, when processing Lance, it's not just like that he was benched all of last year. He was hurt.
Yeah, it's. I think the night you're absolutely right. I think Purdy is the guy that they've always, not always, but since he showed out, like, oh, this is the guy, he can run the offense. And I think Lance is going to get the first crack at it,
Mhm.
but I do think his leash is going to be super short. Like, I think because I think the coaches want Purdy to be the guy because he's like the more like sit in the pocket, do what we tell you to do, run the offense the way we want it, run type guy. Whereas Lance is more of a freelancer. He's an athlete, big arm. But Lance has obviously a much bigger upside. He's got that Jalen Hurts type upside. But so I think Lance will get the start, and I think they hope that he smashes. And if he doesn't, I think pretty quickly they're going to pull the plug and go to their guy Purdy once he's healthy. And from a fantasy perspective, if I'm drafting the Niners weapons, I want Purdy because he is the guy he's gonna sit in the pocket and all the yards and all the production is gonna come from him throwing it to all the other players. So I like the idea of Lance as a fantasy quarterback for himself, but I like the idea of Purdy for the rest of the team. And so we'll see how that plays out. But I think Lance is going to start the season.
I think differently about that. I want to tell you in a second. But remember, Adam, in the playoffs, that FFPC playoff challenge, Adam was pushing for Brock Purdy in that format. Let's just at least get a share. And through the first game of the playoffs, you looked amazing. I mean, what did he have? 35 or so, maybe more fantasy points in that game over against Seattle. It wasn't great after that. Then he got hurt, of course.
Well, he
But
got hurt. Yeah, that was the killer.
I think right now, my guess is Purdy is healthy enough to start the season and does. Like, I don't think that he's going back to the bench. I kind of see it the other way around, that they will start with him. They won all the time with him, and every comment has been glowing about him. So I think he starts, and then we'll see how it goes. He's still the last pick of the draft. Do we know that he's good? And not in terms of fantasy. Well, you have the same questions, but in terms of just real football, I don't know. Like, they're a Super Bowl contender, and maybe, Lance, that much more background work, that much more practice, and whatever else, whatever he was lacking, maybe he gets there. And if they're 4-4 or whatever, like, then I think you go to him, and that makes him. And it's just my guess, and ours are very different about this. But for me, it makes him more of an interesting draft target, and he can be even in the last round, the very last round. And so late season guy, um, is the better play in the tournaments.
I
And
think
then
if
you have then you have Darnold, by the way. Yes,
no, sorry, yeah, I think if they want to keep any trade value for Lance, I think you're probably right. Would be the right decision would be to start Purdy because if you start Lance and then he fails, your trade value's gone. Whereas if you start Purdy and he's successful, and you're like, hey, listen, this guy Purdy's been great for us, but Lance is good too. Yeah, who wants Lance for a first round pick? Like, but if Lance goes out there and bombs, then you're going to get much less for Lance, if anything. So,
right.
um, so that's an interesting thought. I just feel like they got to give their guy another shot. He hasn't really had he got hurt last year, and I feel like
Mhm.
they got to give him another shot, but it depends on how they're looking at it.
Yeah. I think like they shouldn't trade him unless they can do great. because he's still cheap and he's still young and he lost a year there. So just keep going. Like Jordan Love, just keep going. That's what they've done. Like they have not made that move. A lot of us thought they would at the draft. It didn't happen. It's not a trade they'll probably win, and he's a different kind of player. So it's Kyle Shanahan. You can use him, get to the playoffs. I wanted them to do that 2 years ago. And they got very close to the Super Bowl then also with losing to the Rams. I mean, they had the lead late in the NFC Championship, which was, okay, got a scoreboard. But for me, like just, oh, what a complimentary piece Lance would be, just certain series, certain plays never really happened. And that's still available to the 49ers. So I guess not that this really tells us anything, but they made 2 draft picks. They made the 3rd overall pick 2 years ago, and they made the very last pick of the draft last year. And what did they get out of it? They got 2 quarterbacks, and one of whom kind of was great for them last year. And so if you sort of stop caring about when they drafted each guy and just go for the better player, then they came out fine. I guess they just
Flip
the
it.
opposite way of what you'd
Yeah.
expect to work, right? All right. Well, let's see what happens with San Francisco, Taylor, Barkley, Eckler in this underdog best ball mania 4 draft that will kick off in just a minute. Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst here on the deep end. Thanks for watching or listening, however you're taking in our show tonight. Right now, before we get started in the draft, here's a word from our sponsor.
People always ask me, hey, what is the World Series of fantasy or the Super Bowl of fantasy football? And it's easy. It's the FFPC, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. It's a $6 million prize pool. And they've had their Never Too Early Best Ball leagues cranking since February. So the FFPC is the answer to so many questions. Hey, where's the best place to get a Dynasty orphan? Well, you can adopt a Dynasty orphan at the FFPC. That's why we partner with them. If you want to play fantasy football for low, medium, high stakes, seasonal, best ball, dynasty, go to the FFPC. And don't forget, promo code Underworld to get you $25 off your first team. $25 off your first team, no matter what team it is, no matter what format it is, at the FFPC. Go do it.
Welcome back. The draft is open.
Oh, I like
Here we
it.
go. Underdog. We're picking 4th.
Okay.
The board up there for you.
Mm-hmm.
I love that spot. How about you?
Yeah,
We did
I
this last
like.
week, right?
Yeah, we talked about this last week. I think that's like your favorite, so I'm fine with it. Let's roll.
So Jefferson and Chase are almost always the first 2 picks, or McCaffrey. I would want to go receiver at 4, Hill or Cup, or even someone else if you're feeling strongly over a running back, because I like what happens at running back in the next 2 rounds.
Fine. Yeah, no, I love. You mentioned Cooper Cup, and are you okay with Cup at 4, or you think it's
Absolutely.
too? Okay,
Absolutely.
I like
Jefferson, Chase, Hill, Cup in whatever order you like. I mean, if Jefferson makes it to 4, I think you do that. Otherwise, your preference. I think, in the first round, you can just kind of take most of these drafts I've done, and I've done 17 or 18 so far, are like the first round is almost the same every time.
Yes.
Last night I was in one where Jalen Hurts went 4th, and my thought is, well, they know it's not super flex. Like that happened, and that ended up kind of being a weird one. But man, like right through the middle to the back of the first round, as Chase goes 1 here, a lot of first rounds look alike.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't have. I should have brought it up beforehand, but maybe when we do one of these next week or something, I'd like to get a little. Just try some things out. We're gonna do so many of these. Like, hey, what does it look like if we start tight end, quarterback, running back, just to try things out to see. Almost use them as like a mock draft. We're on the clock now.
Are you Cup over Tyreek?
Yes.
The 3rd pick was Travis Kelce, and we'll take Cup at 1-4. So Tyreek, and there goes McCaffrey at 5. This is a little bit late for Tyreek Hill at 6, if that's where he goes.
Yeah. I mean, I say yes, like it's 100%. Like I just, in this one, I'm fine. I kind of wanted to grab Cup, and but Tyreek's a fine pick, obviously.
Sure.
Can you zoom in at all on that, Mike? Like, I mean, I can see it a little bit, but if you
Had to
can't,
ask.
do not worry about it.
I don't know if I know how.
Fine, don't worry about it. Yeah.
How's
So
that?
there we go. Great.
That's not the board, but is that too
Oh, there we go.
big? I
That's
might have
great
to
right
just go
there.
back and forth on that.
That's
All
fine.
right, good. For
Bijan
those
is
not watching, for
RB2.
those listening on Spotify or YouTube, iTunes, we have just made the draft board bigger.
And now they're more excited. They just sat up in their seat.
Oh, bigger is better.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
The Rams go Washington, New Orleans, and then in the big one, the Giants on the road in the cold, probably in week 17. Washington, New Orleans, Giants.
Bijan, number 2 running back off the board.
Happens a lot, right? It just happens a lot. Robinson at 7, Diggs and Brown. You see that. Watch for the quarterbacks coming back. Eckler at 10, Lamb at 11. I'm telling you, like, this could be Adams Taylor. You just see a lot of the same starts, these drafts. Really, I'm right, like more sophisticated, more good players than ever, more players, period. As Barkley goes at the turn with Adams, not Jonathan Taylor. Taylor would have been the correlation.
Yes, should have gone correlated there for sure.
Unless, you've done so many already that you're bored and just want to try different builds. Last night, I was at 12 and play as Lamb and St. Brown, they say, but I decided to go away from St. Brown and Gibbs rather later. Anyway,
are we looking to correlate stack early, or what are we thinking?
well, the only correlation really is Barkley, who's gone.
Right.
So what I'm here for is, I don't want a quarterback in the second round when you start with Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
Probably, unless you disagree.
No, I agree for sure.
I like receiver. There's a week 16 correlation with Kupp in Olave or running back.
Olave. You know how I feel about Olave.
Is he a sure thing?
I think so. From like I mean, the only thing that I guess that would kill him would be if like Michael Thomas played the whole year, which is there's a less than 2% chance of that happening. So,
interesting that the Brown and Diggs teams, Adam, did not pick their quarterback stacks here.
Maybe they've done that 1,000 times already.
Maybe. Second round, Barkley, Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor, St. Brown, Waddle, Hurts to the Bijan team, Chubb, and then McCaffrey team is up. We're on deck.
Yeah, I like. Is it early for Olave? No, not really. Man, he's moving.
Want to do it? T. Higgins goes in front of us. Let's take Olave.
Yeah, there's going to be.
And this should set up for us to take a really good running back play in round 3.
Yeah, as long as the people behind us behave and don't go crazy on running back, which they really should take a running back because.
You've got a good list of them here, though. I mean, any of these guys.
I love Ramondre Stevenson. I'm loving him more and more. Ramondre Stevenson. I just think that he's such a good hero RB candidate that you can get in the late second rather than like the first.
Mm-hmm.
You can build around.
And round 2, the Kelsey team takes Mahomes in the 3 slot, Jefferson and Devontae Smith. Then Pollard to the team at the 1. So they start Chase Pollard and are up to start round 3. There's Josh Jacobs. Allen goes at 302. We're in great shape. We're going to get Pollard, Henry, or Pollard went. We're going to get Henry or Ramondre.
Yeah.
I'm liking Henry more and more. I've never been a Henry drafter, but 2 playoff weeks against, we have a choice. Breece Hall against Houston. Your call here. You like Stevenson more?
Let me see. The week 17. Who do we got?
Patriots, Bills, okay. Texans, Titans, Texans.
Oh, Texans. Yeah. Go, Henry.
Okay.
For the week 17.
Little bit of slightly better ADP value, but not much, negligible. That's interesting.
Right.
I think this is a great start. It's tough to pass on Stevenson there. I think so too. But Kupp, Olave, Henry is our start. And I just again, I think that I said it last week when we talked about it. It was kind of the topic of our show is favorite draft positions, and I've always been like 4 or 5. That's my favorite slot because you're guaranteed Cup or Hill, and then you can get a running back, if not 2, if you want 2. That's pretty easy too. We could have done that, and start great.
Yeah, it's so interesting too in these how the receivers get pushed up. I mean, we took Olave, mid to late second, and the FFPC is going, mid third. So it just shows you like these receivers get pushed up in these because you must start 3 here. But I think the receiver frenzy gets a little crazy. It's half point PPR. So it's like, you're not getting that full point, which also is another kind of thumbs up to Derrick Henry because he's not losing that much on the PPR work. So but yeah, I mean,
Right.
this guy capital went RB quarterback RB, he'll probably pound receiver after that.
Robinson, Hurts, Stevenson. Anything can work.
Anything can work. And that's the thing. Like, I would love to try, we'll do obviously a bunch more of these, but I would love to try different builds just to see how they, that's what we used to do back in the day before best ball. We would do mock drafts, right? Like, hey, how does this build work? How does that build work? And that's kind of what these have become sometimes is you're going to do so many of them that some of them kind of have to be a mock draft for you.
Under round 3. So after our pick of Derrick Henry, it's Metcalf, Lamar Jackson to correlate with Tyreek Hill on team 6. Stevenson, like you mentioned, Mark Andrews goes to team 8. Deebo Samuel, that's a 3 receiver start. Justin Fields for team 10 with Eckler and JT. Calvin Ridley into the 3rd round here, a 3 receiver start for team 11. Then Najee Harris followed by Mike Williams at the turn. So, what?
I love the 3rd round this year for running backs. I mean, Najee, Ramondre, Henry, Hall if he's healthy, Jacobs in the 3rd's fine. Like, I just feel like that with the quarterbacks being pushed up and receivers and these things, man, the running backs, that's kind of the sweet spot.
Still have ETN as well.
Sure.
Gibbs as well. I tend to like receiver more, all else equal, in round 4 because receiver does get kind of weak after a few guys go here.
Yep.
I think that's the consensus. I hate to sort of line up always with consensus, but I do agree. And in terms of correlation, I think that'll work itself out as we go with the teams we've started with.
I mean,
New Orleans is Tampa. If you want to do
Tampa,
that,
yeah, I
in
like
round
that.
5.
Yeah, I like that. We could go Godwin or we can go, Evans or both, later on.
That's right. Rams and Giants, plenty of Giants options through that's again late rounds. The correlating teams we're looking at right now are the Giants and the Texans and the Bucks.
Right.
I mean, that is a late round frenzy, just
Yes.
anybody you want there to be different. And it's also I like that we don't have a quarterback yet because it's just when you see value at quarterback later, you don't want to have already signed up for one and kind of feel left out.
Is Lamar's
Lamar's
gone?
gone.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm okay with like a Stafford Carr situation later on. Those could be our 2 QBs.
On deck here in round 4, ETN goes at 4-4. Christian Watson, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, then Hawkinson. Adam, Jahmyr Gibbs is the value here. 6 picks past ADP. Not a correlating team, but a running back 2. You want to do that and push off receiver? I don't really love the receiver options already.
Yeah, who's after McLaurin there?
Next receiver on the list would be Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Not a little early.
Yeah, no.
Go Gibbs?
Early. I like Gibbs. Yep.
Good.
I like Gibbs, and now we just ignore it for a while.
Oh, right. Great plays. Dallas in week 17. So we have lots of flexibility here in a weekend or late, and we definitely will want to.
Correct.
All right. So plenty of receivers coming up here. Also Kenneth Walker, but unless everybody goes receiver here at this turn, there should be somebody for us. If not, we'll have to get creative.
Who I really like. I don't know, and it's probably a little bit out of ADP, but I like Deontay Johnson. I've been taking him in the 5th, 6th round pretty consistently. I mean, it's a guy that's going to see a ton of targets, and so I kind of like him. I don't know where he is on the ADP there.
I will check.
Okay.
I like him a lot too. He's down a little bit. 75, so early 7th.
Okay, perfect.
Pacheco goes 410. That's early for Pacheco, then McLaurin, then Kirk. Here we go. Your top ADP guys here are Hopkins. There goes Drake London, who was next, and Keenan Allen. Chargers and Denver in week 17. Chargers have the Bills at 16. They might even have New England in there. I have to check that. Or the Raiders.
The Chargers have the Broncos week 17.
Chargers Broncos week 17, correct.
Yeah, could be a shootout.
On deck, Hopkins and Keenan Allen are both good values. There goes Joe Mixon. Oh, we're in great shape here. I'm for Hopkins.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hopkins. Yep.
That's 9 picks late.
And it's Eagles, another shootout maybe.
He wants to be traded again. Like now we're playing his game again, and he's talking about quarterbacks he wants to play for. Yesterday with Brandon Marshall, oh, Allen or Hurts or Mahomes or Jackson. Like, okay, dude, ask for a trade or don't. Right? Leave us alone. You want to get out of there, say it.
Right. I mean, he should want to be traded. The team is like they're rebuilding. They're gonna probably have 2 of the top 3 or 4 picks next year, and they should want to trade him. Like, why you're not trying to win games next year, are you? You know. So.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see. Tight end. Do we care about? Are we punting tight end? Are we Dalton Kincaiding it?
I mean, let's take a look. I want to get the board. We got the board on the screen. I want to go back to our team and look at the options to answer that best way I can. So Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs, Cooper Kupp, Olave, DeAndre Hopkins. Correlation, first name is Kittle, who works. Then also, or no, that's wrong, actually. That's the week 17 game I always get mixed up on is the Saints. Saints have Tampa. Yes. Arizona and Philadelphia. So Goddard could be an option.
Sure.
Later on, the Dallas guys, the Houston guys really don't rate. So we're kind of an independent right now when it comes to tight end, which is fine, I think.
Yep. I love Godwin if he can fall here, if we want to keep pounding receiver, which I don't hate.
You know, I agree. It would have been only 6 picks early on Godwin, but my philosophy would be take the guy Hopkins here, who was 9 picks late. But I'll end up with plenty of Godwin.
Right. So what do you do when you normally punt? I mean, we're almost basically punting tight end and quarterback. Are we taking 3 of each? Are we taking? Does it still depend?
You know, so they say you want to limit. You can do anything, but ideally, I think you're at 2 tight ends. But it always depends on who they are.
Right.
And so last rounds, I think it's totally reasonable to mix it up, and not be scared off by the idea I'm not supposed to take 3, whatever like that. And I think, 3 quarterbacks, the way the list falls this year for me, in a draft like this, when I'm not drafting one of the top 3 or 4, I think I'm going to want 3. And, Tennessee, Houston with CJ Stroud or, who else you mentioned? We talked about the 49ers a little bit. We could end up doing something like that. Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Maybe, or just anything. Like I don't usually tend to sort of feel like I'm sticking to one particular, 2682 or anything like that myself.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'm fine with that. And there's been some research shown, some advanced metrics of advancing in this tournament where 3 late tight ends is like completely punting it is a viable option, and just going 3, in their late rounds and hoping just you get a touchdown a week from one of the 3 guys, Yeah. So which is
like Alberto last year in Pat's lineup, week 17 after a completely lost season where he was usually inactive.
Yeah.
But I think he even ended up counting.
Or Zylstra.
In Pat's win.
Let me guess, he had Zylstra on that team too?
Yeah, I don't believe he had Zylstra. He had Kittle. I know he had Kittle on that team.
Yeah.
Get him there. He was big in the fantasy playoffs too.
Yeah.
We're into round 6, which starts George Pickens, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, and Kyle Pitts. Godwin is still there, and so is Deontay Johnson, and so is Goddard.
I love all that. Yes.
Johnson is a little bit early. and we don't have Seattle correlation. That's your game.
That's
Seattle,
right.
Pittsburgh. That's the Adam
Steelers.
Crowers game.
Oh,
There
Godwin's
go
gone.
Evans and Godwin, and then Dobbins.
Is Goddard
All
at
right.
ADP? Yeah.
Goddard
it
is
is.
pretty much right at
Yeah.
ADP. Arizona, Philly,
Yeah. Let's go
or you
Goddard.
want, unless you
Yeah.
want Trevor Lawrence, which I don't really want Trevor Lawrence right now.
No.
Goddard,
No.
another easy
Goddard.
pick
And then
at
hope Deontay.
6'9".
I'd love for
All right.
Deontay to fall back.
Arizona, Philly. We've got a little work going there.
I mean, I love.
Darius Tony at pick 70.
Sorry,
Yes.
Mike. I keep interrupting you.
Well, I feel like I am just trying to,
Keep
let everybody know
abreast.
what's happening.
I love Pickens. You know this, but I'm not taking Pickens over Deontay Johnson at this point yet until we see like a changing of the guard. Like Deontay Johnson gets open all game, every game. Like it's just a quarterback thing. Like if you're asking me who's going to score more fantasy, I mean, now Pickens is probably going to be more of a best ball guy. But I'm not taking Pickens over Deontay Johnson.
I would like to pick a wide receiver here in round 7, all else equal. And my guy would be Jahan Dotson, who is 4th on the list down at ADP, all pretty bunched up. I don't think Gabe Davis really helps us. Hollywood Brown, we have Hopkins. If you like that, okay, we're going to have our pick. And the highest ADP guy is Treylon Burks. I don't really like the idea of Burks with Henry, though.
What about, are we thinking Kincaid later, like Davis Kincaid? Or do we not? We want to get that.
I don't love that.
Oh, okay. I would go. Do you hate Burks?
I don't like Burks with Henry.
Okay, go Dotson. The Dotson's fine then.
You sure?
Yep.
I don't want to feel like I'm pushing you into all my ideas here.
No, it's fine.
I do a little bit, but Dotson correlates with Olave.
Okay.
And I just feel like the Derrick Henry, we've seen him have these games against the Texans where it's just like to the moon. And I don't think Burks shows up in that game script,
Where does he correlate with Olave?
Watson or Dotson rather?
Yeah.
I got that mixed up again. I always get that one mixed up. He doesn't. It's San Francisco, Washington.
Is there?
All right.
Can we get over the commish? Is there a commish button on this underdog draft?
Jahan Dotson's going to be our guy.
Our guy.
He's going to be the guy we text about.
The guy we needed was Jahan Dotson. We got him.
Maybe we can go get Elijah Mitchell or something now. Force that in.
I love it.
Sorry, yeah.
It's a mock draft. We're good.
New Orleans, Tampa. San Francisco, Washington.
Tampa. And who did the Commanders play? I don't even know. I'm looking.
San Francisco.
That's right. Come on. All right. How many wide receivers?
My first instinct. I have 2 first instinct problems. First one is that I always think that C.J. Stroud is on the Panthers. You see how slow I went? I still have to think it through every single time.
Yep.
I have those 2 guys flipped because for a while we thought that was what was going to happen. And the other I have is I've got a mental block here where I see Saints and I think Niners, and that's wrong. And I'm making it worse. Talking about it.
Worse.
Just sort of, thin ink in my head.
That's right.
Branding it into my brain that Saints play the Niners in week 17, which they don't. I said it again. All right, end of 7 rounds. What are your thoughts here? You like the build? We've got 2 running backs, 4 receivers, and a tight end.
I love that build, and I would keep kind of hitting receiver if we don't care. Like if there's guys there. I mean, I see the James Conner's interesting, and we have a Cardinal.
I think so too. We have Hopkins and Goddard.
Yep, Conner's intriguing. I know it's kind of a boomer pick, I guess, but I just there's no competition there, and he catches the ball and all that stuff. But he does.
Adam, what do you think of Prescott?
Who else is left?
There goes Connor.
Okay.
Quarterback Prescott's the only guy I do here. He's right on time. We can wait. With 3 teams behind us, each have picked a quarterback already. We're on deck.
Okay. I'd rather wait on quarterback and get something that either correlates or stacks. We could go Michael Thomas.
With Olave?
Yeah.
What about Kamara?
Oh, I kind of like that too.
It's a little early.
Hopefully he'll be back by week 17. It's on. Did
Call
they
it.
take Michael Thomas?
No, we're up. We have eight
Oh,
seconds.
yeah, Thomas or Kamara. I like Thomas though.
Thomas More? Too late. Thomas.
Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thomas and Olave.
I like it.
Interesting.
I like it.
Would you want Kamara then on the way back if he's there? I sometimes feel like I don't know when to not overdo it. Like what is overdoing it? That would be 3 Saints without a quarterback at least yet.
Yeah, it's in Tampa. Week 17 is all I'm like really, really looking at here. I don't know. I think this is fine because Kamara isn't probably he's gonna be suspended at some point. I think so. I think that passing on in this situation, I think that passing on Kamara is probably fine. And maybe you take
I'm thinking about taking him because he'll be back by then. And now we're sort of like, do we want to be that much of a Saints team, right? Like we'll have the big 3. I that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know when to sort of slow down on a stack, but
yeah,
I think he would be my pick here.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it certainly makes sense. It's a stack. We just got to make sure we get Carr, and we got to hope
Unless you want Prescott at value correlates with Gibbs.
Is Cooks is gone, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't want to. I don't know. You want to go naked QB? I don't know if I love that, especially because I just don't know if I love Dak this year.
You'd have to get one of the tight ends. We can go Kamara. He made it to us.
Yeah, I'd rather just go Kamara.
Okay.
Make it make sense.
If I had a Saints helmet, I would go get it. Put it behind my shoulder here. Let me make this bigger. 3. The board. All right, we are.
Now we got to queue up Carr.
Round 9. Yeah.
Queue up Carr. I like it.
I mean, there are teams that I like less than the Saints going into this season.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not the worst team for me. They're the NFC South favorite. You've got all 3 guys have been elite.
Yes.
The question of will they be suspended? Are they past their prime? If all 3 guys, I mean, yes or no? Michael Thomas was about a 101 once. Alvin Kamara was a 101 once. Olave was not, but he's so young and good. This is not the point you need. I'm forcing it, trying to talk myself into it a little bit, but it's an all-time fantasy team. Those 3 guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're doing this right, if this was our only draft, we would never do that. But if you're doing this right, you got to do stuff like this. You're going to have ones where you go like 3 Saints, and then you'll come back the next one and you'll have $3 in that game instead of 3 Saints, and you'll have another one with 3. Like that's the way you got to do it. That's so we got to get Carr to make sure that makes the most sense, and then move on to the next draft. It's one of 150, so it's it's got to make sense.
Tampa Bay correlation options are scant, and they're all like 100 picks away. Mayfield, Cade Otton. Cade Otton led rookie tight ends last year in catches.
I did know that. I did know
you
that.
Did. Okay.
But it's
good of you to say it. Good of you to say that, and instead of like any sort of false modesty, like, oh, I didn't know that, but you actually did. So it's good that you said that you did. I think
it just doesn't matter, right? I mean, come on. You know who I like? Sean Tucker. I love Sean Tucker actually. If he can,
all right.
If they can figure out a way to if he's healthy, man, he would have been probably a third round pick in the NFL draft. So, if you're
heart condition.
Yes, heart condition. If you're looking for a last pick or last 2 round correlation there, I like it.
It would be. Oh, never mind. I was going to bring up Daniel Jones, but he just goes to end round 9. We are still not of a quarterback. Carr, his ADP is 144. So right above him is Kyler Murray. So we're still probably a couple rounds away. Are you drafting any Kyler Murray?
I'm not, only because I think it's going to be a mess there. I think by the time he gets back, teams are going to be talking about how they have the Texans pick and how they're going to have the top 2 picks or top 3 picks in the draft. The Cardinals might, I think Vegas has them for the least amount of wins in the league. Like,
Correct.
I could see them just not playing him, or if Hopkins gets traded, the offense just isn't going to be very good. The team's not going to be very good. So I don't think he's going to be the guy that you need at the end of the year. Although the game with the Eagles could be a shootout if he does play. So I don't have a ton of him, but I guess I could see it. Like if you're doing a Cardinal stack, like you got to go get him or something like that.
We have Hopkins and there's Goddard
Sure.
on the other side. So I
Yep.
feel like
That
that's
would
an
make
option we
sense.
have.
Yep.
Three best ADP values. Now it's down to 2 as Njoku goes. And that would take Rodgers off the table for me, probably. Or
Yeah, I don't
Njoku,
want.
Aaron Rodgers, and Penny. I'd love Penny here. Goddard, DeAndre
Yes,
Hopkins.
I love Penny in this range. I'm definitely off Rodgers because we have so many other stacking correlating options.
Yep.
So I like Penny. I also
There's your buddy Kincaid coming up. Russell
I like
Wilson goes. We're on
I
deck. And he
Penny
takes
Kincaid.
Damian Harris. So, Penny?
Yeah, let's go Penny, and maybe Kincaid will slide back around to us. I mean, we have a tight end, so I'm not super. Kincaid to me would lock in a 2 tight end build, I think.
Yep. I've gotten a little bit sour on him
Ooh.
for this year. There he goes. We're off. I'm off the hook. I don't have to talk you out of as Darth Trombonist takes Dalton Kincaid toward the end of round 10.
You're just sick of everyone talking about how he's going to play receiver. That's like, how do we know? Type of thing.
I do believe that, but I don't love the math on where the targets are. Like who's targets? I mean, is he really just getting 80 targets or more as a rookie playing out of position? I don't know. What do you think of Jared Goff?
Listen, I love the Lions offense. What do we got for the Lions? Nothing. Gibbs. Okay.
I kind of like it.
Pass catching back. Yeah, I definitely don't want to.
Unless you want Juju 18 picks past ADP.
Carr. Are we? If we take Goff, are we out on Carr?
I want to be in on Carr.
Then I would
want to pick him 20 picks early.
Then I would take no. I would take Juju then.
All right.
I would take Juju.
All right, we'll see what happens. I like Kyler and Carr. They're both in the same range. It's like pick 141 or 144. Our next pick will be pick 141. Oh, baby.
So, yeah, queue up those 2 QBs.
I will just want to show the board here real quick first so you can see where we're at. Round 11. Antonio Gibson to start round 11. I kind of like that value.
Gibson. Yep.
Sky Moore, Tyler Boyd, Juju to us. Just a, late Bills correlation is easy.
Yes.
Hardy, Shakir, Knox. Adam, back to the Bills, right? Like Kincaid. I feel like Knox is still going to be Knox, which people have maybe thought too highly of him in fantasy and all the touchdowns. He had 9 touchdowns 2 years ago. And when the targets weren't really that plentiful. But I feel like if Kincaid is going to be this slot receiver, then Knox is the same Knox in that scenario. Shakir maybe is dead and Hardy works in. I don't know. Like I just think I was in a FFPC draft where Knox went in the 20th round at tight end premium. And it's like, I think he's still good for 40, 50 catches and some touchdowns. I mean, the Bills know what they have in him.
Yeah, the Bills they extended him, which I didn't like, but they did it. But then they went ahead and took a first round tight end. But like you said, if they're it all's got to make sense. If they're going to start one guy at receiver, a big slot in Kincaid, then Knox is going to stay in his normal role. And if he stays in his normal role, it's definitely better than the 20th round. I was low on Knox last year, but I think now he's going undervalued, right? Like, so
that's how I feel too.
And if Kincaid gets banged up he's a rookie, man. They hit the rookie wall a lot. Like if he gets banged up, now Knox is back to being everyone's favorite in the top 10 round pick in FFPC. So I know we're an underdog here, but yeah, no, I think you could do a Knox and a Kincaid stack if one plays slot and one plays to tight end. So the Bills love to throw the ball, and they're talking about the Bills really haven't talked about running 12 personnel. It's everyone else saying that they're going to do that. So,
well, Pretty much. I mean,
You know,
Brandon Bean did get into it a little bit, talking about like Cole Beasley in a tight end's body or whatever he called Kincaid, and like the 12th personnel point. He laid it out like you're going to have to play a nickel DB on him, and just we can throw you off that way. It's not like they're inventing anything. They're just
right?
talking about doing something that they haven't done very much of. They played less 12 than any team in the league, I think, last year. Well, this is interesting now because we're Team Saints with Kamara, Olave, and Michael Thomas. We're in need of a quarterback. Carr and Murray are both in the ADP range where we're headed end of 12. We're
Yep.
picking 1209. I also put Matthew Stafford in there as we're the cup team.
Yep.
So the this is kind of where our chips are. The Bucks thing is going to be a problem, like not having any of those guys, unless we end up on Mayfield or something, or gamble that one of those veteran running backs ends up on Tampa. Just like that is a really risky fix.
Sure.
So one thing at a time. I mean, I think right here we hope for one of those quarterbacks. We're now 5 picks away, and they're both still up. And each team in front of us has 2. So
Perfect.
they shouldn't want to pick one of these quarterbacks, right?
Correct. And the problem that I have, like, I would love to just go Carr Murray and call it a day, but you can't because Murray isn't going to play the first half of the year. So, or maybe at
But
all.
for this team, maybe I'm overdoing it. For this team to win, Carr is going to have to be an MVP candidate. Like just big, maybe not. I mean, not that they're going to win every week, but like big stats.
Yeah, I just think
Um,
he needs to hold his own in the regular season and then have blow up in the postseason. But I think if you get a guy, I mean, even like Stafford 2 years ago was an MVP candidate. Last year, it all went to hell, but that was with everybody, not just him. If he could stay healthy, him and Cooper Cup, could be incredible again. So if you can get some other options that can have those flash weeks, um, I think Carr can,
we're
Carr's
up.
got the weapons there.
Carr is the pick, right?
Yes. Yeah.
The team behind us has 3 quarterbacks already. All right. Derek Carr, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. And
Love it.
Taysom Hill is in the queue, baby.
Pack up our briefcase. That's right.
When you load so heavily on a one team, you do see a bye week problem, right? Like, they're on the same team. So we have to maybe consider that. It's not my favorite thought, but we have a bunch of week 11. Juju added to that. And then 2 week 14 buys with Arizona and Washington. All right. So would you go Murray here with Carr? I
If
think I
we're
would.
I
I think I
would, but we got
would.
to take another one though eventually.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
That
No, I
could be Stroud.
sure. It just needs to be someone,
Lance. No, it
yeah,
can't be Lance. It can't be Lance.
to team up
If you
the
pick Murray, right?
well, we got to look at bye weeks here for sure.
Bye weeks too, but would you pick a quarterback you don't know is going to play with Murray, or is that too risky?
Um, when is the Saints bye?
11.
I think you could get away with it then, because Murray might be back by 11. You know,
You
um,
want Higbee and try for Stafford. I don't think Higbee works because they're both week 10. Never mind.
yeah.
We've Goddard and the Rams are both week 10. Well, on deck, the 3 quarterback team in front. I don't think they would take Kyler Murray. Is that what you want to do? Are you okay there?
I am okay there.
Okay.
Kyler, it's an ADP, right?
A little bit after. Yeah. 7
Perfect.
picks after. This guy auto picked. He scared me. But KJ Osborne. All right, Murray.
Murray,
Interesting. All right, are we having fun?
absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
this team, up Olave, drafting from the 4, then Derrick Henry in round 3, good value there. Jahmyr Gibbs was even better value by ADP in round 4. Late 4 for Gibbs, I think I'm going to like. DeAndre Hopkins was 9 picks late. It's a value team, right? Early in the 5th. Dallas Goddard for our tight end, 6'9", and that correlates with Arizona. Don Dotson I got mixed up. Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Rashad Penny, Juju, then Carr and Murray. QB. Anything can work.
Anything can work.
So we have correlation wise to think about Houston in terms of Henry, but it's only Henry. Giants in terms of Cup, but it's only Cup. And then Tampa is the big one.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tampa, I'd like to have got more Tampa again. I think Sean Tucker's an option at the end. It's interesting what you said about the Burks Henry thing. Like you probably don't. What stinks is that like Burks is their number one for sure, and Henry's their number one running back for sure. But you really can't. They're not both going to get in a smash because Henry usually when he smashes, it's 28 carries for 200 yards, and Burks isn't getting anything. So it's tough to really stack those guys and hope for a big game.
Yeah, we got to have somebody on that Buccaneers team. If you like Tucker, is there any like who's their third receiver?
I
Gage, who's
mean,
still there? Gage.
what have they done at tight end?
Otten.
I
Good
mean,
rookie season.
yeah, I mean, go with Otten.
It's
How many?
late, but yes.
What do we have? Is we still just Goddard right now?
Yes.
Yeah,
You just got to sort of hold on and hope that,
nobody snipes you, right?
yeah, like somebody might build a late Tampa stack. What about Mayfield for us?
Yeah, I mean, we could go. We need a third quarterback. Could go Mayfield, Otten. God, this is so gross. Not this draft, but just like this, best ball tournament drafting is like we're getting
Love it.
excited about. Oh God, just these builds.
Is there a Texans receiving option? Collins went, Mechie or Singletary. That could be interesting with
Yeah,
4 running backs right now.
for sure. Singletary. I like Singletary with this build more than Mechie, I think.
So he might be. He just goes. It's happened a few times for not being live.
Right. Um,
How do you feel about the veterans? We talked about them before the draft. Elliott, Hunt, Fournette. Anybody interesting there for what they cost?
well, what are the odds that Fournette goes back to Tampa?
I haven't heard a word about him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about someone who could end up in Tampa maybe for this team. So, maybe it's Zeke, maybe it's
For on deck.
I don't know. Do you think Fournette has a good chance of going back there? Hey, test the market. We'll see you in 2 months, type thing.
I don't know. We're up here.
Okay.
Wandale is interesting for correlation with the Rams.
Okay.
Price, if you like him,
All
or
the guys in our
Knox.
queue are too early. I'm
No, it's fine. It's fine.
okay. I like Knox, and then unless you don't want 3 tight ends.
Hang on, I got to get him there. Did I
Wandale
get him
it
there?
is.
I don't know if I
Wandale.
got him there. Knox is the pick. That was that was way less than a second on
Well
clock.
done.
And just it's just the way it's set up here. Not easy. I like drafting these on the computer more than my phone, Underdog.
Yes. Oh yeah. Way easier.
10 to 14. Juwan Johnson, Jefferson, Bryce Young. All right. So Knox, we're 2-4-6-2 with 4 picks to go. We have Alvin Kamara, who's going to miss games. So I don't mind, Zeke either. Like it's just sort of if your game or Jeff Wilson, one of the
Yeah, show me pull up the running backs here. I
there
don't
it
like
is.
with the build that we have, we need something a little safer, I feel like in the early-ish
IJ
season.
Spears as a handcuff, if you like that.
No.
Gainwell correlation play, if you like that. It's a little early. Could wait around, probably wait till the next round on Gainwell, possibly. Elliott is the value.
I mean, Elliott's the value, and is there any way that Elliott just doesn't play this year?
I think he plays.
So, I mean, you just kind of take him and cross your fingers. If he ends up in Tampa, we're giggling,
Elliott or Wandale both cost about the same. Your call.
I would go Elliott. Go Elliott. We need the running back more, I think. And if he ends up
The
in
only
the
thing
right,
I took him. The only thing that could happen there, I mean, I don't know if he plays. You asked me if I think he plays. I said yes. It doesn't have to be week 1.
Well, for us, I would like it to be week 1
Yes, yes. Now I would. That's right.
because
I've got plenty of Elliott. I still think Dallas is in play.
because you think Kamara's an early season suspension, correct?
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Right. So I feel
It's funny
like
to put Elliott, who had a midseason suspension, into that conversation.
right.
Okay, so 15th round is Ezekiel Elliott. If he goes to Tampa, that's a home run.
Are you good
Two,
with
five,
5
six,
backs, or
two.
do we want to add Tucker with our last pick?
Henry, King Henry, Gibbs, Kamara, Penny,
I
Elliott.
mean, I think with the suspension looming, Zeke not having a team, Penny being injury prone, I feel like we need one more back. Although I say Sean Tucker, he's got the heart issue. It's like, do we just? I don't know.
There are other options. I think Bucks, and there's Otten too. Let's
No,
see. We have 3 picks left,
okay.
and
Mayfield and Otten are 2 of them.
possibly or Stroud and Mechie.
Okay.
We'll see what we got. I mean, it's beginning of 16.
Yeah, I say we go Mayfield, Otten, or Stroud, Mechie, and then with the last pick um, we take like a running back that we think has some front season value.
Okay, I like that. Let's put the Bucks ahead of the Texans on this list, even though ADP is 25 to 30 picks later. End
That's
of
all.
draft. I really don't care about
Yeah,
the ADP that much.
yeah,
I'm just trying to, make sure we've got the correlation right. And I think it's vital that we have 1 or 2 Buccaneers from this last 3 rounds. I think it's vital. We're
yeah.
dead without it.
Yeah, I mean, ideally it would be Mayfield, Otten, and Tucker to me. Although Tucker doesn't have that early season kind of pizzazz, but I just I just loved him as a prospect, and the heart issues just stinks. But it might be it's happened before where players have heart issues and they drop in the draft, and then they're fine, And
Yep.
let me actually look it up.
Also, Purdy would be an option for Dotson, but we need Tampa more. I think I might take Otten first.
Yes,
Different quarterback options are out there if we don't get Mayfield. Mid 16th, Michael Mayer at 1605. I'm not looking to see how other teams are correlated. I will later, just to find out. It's not something I'm tracking. I would say when I'm drafting alone, I can do some of that. Not that it really matters, too much what the teams around you are doing in that way.
right.
It does matter. It can mean something. It can sort of help you predict what's coming up. On deck here, Gus Edwards goes 1607. This guy does need a tight end, and he takes Tyler Conklin. So Otten, right?
Yeah, for
Otten
sure.
over Mayfield. Yes, that's what I want. All right. It's a third tight end. We'll see if he can stay the starter.
There's the other thing too about Tampa is they didn't add a running back, and Rashad White I don't think is that good. They signed they signed Tucker as the undrafted free agent, man. I just feel like if he can just get cleared, he's so good. If he can get cleared, he could just straight up outplay Rashad White in the preseason. Okay, so Mayfield, Tucker would be pretty sweet.
We're gonna have to wait for one of them if we do get one of them. That means we're gonna probably end up at 6 receivers this way. 3, 6, 6, 3. That's a little gross.
Yeah, I mean we don't have to go Tucker or running back to end it. That's just kind of like, hey, especially Tucker, because again, we're looking for a guy with some protection at the front half of the season, but that could be kind of like playing it too safe. Maybe
The top 2 guys on the on the ADP list are Tyquan Thornton and Shakir. We have Juju and Knox from that game. Want to
Yep.
add one and then take the Buccaneer we got at the end?
Sure.
I like that.
Yeah, that makes sense because they could both. They could both.
This guy's auto drafting though. I think this guy left, so he might take Thornton. No, she takes Shakir, even better.
Beautiful.
All right, Thornton. I'm
Yeah,
drafting a lot of him.
Yeah, Thornton flashed for sure, and having the top 2 receivers there is pretty sweet. Although they're not spectacular. All right.
So now it's either Tucker or one of the quarterbacks, Mayfield or Purdy if he's available, or I'm not sure about. I think Stroud went. Yeah, he didn't.
Well, are we at 2 quarterbacks right now?
Carr and Murray.
I think by taking Thornton, I think we need to go quarterback. I think.
Okay. All right.
Because I mean, if Murray isn't back and we have an injury or whatever for a week, we're dead.
Howell correlates with Dotson, of course. I mean, is that even correlating? We're on the same team.
It all made sense. It all came to fruition here. Howell being there for us at the end here, or Mac Jones. That makes them.
Mac Jones. We've got
Max,
Juju and Thornton.
Jones.
Although that's the same bye week as Carr, if that scares you.
I mean,
you need Kyler Murray to be back by week 11. Just 1 week, it's 20 points.
Right. I think it's okay, and I think he'll be back. If he's back, I think he'll be back by maybe week 11.
Look at all those 11s. Oh, baby. Let's go Dawson Knox and Cooper Kupp in week 11. There goes Purdy. I mean, you know what? On Mayfield, is he the quarterback of the Bucs in week 17?
That's
interesting because we might feel like we need him early in the season. We have other options here for early in the season. Is he on the field at the end of the season?
Right. Who knows?
End of round 17. Tank Dell. Marvin Jones.
Tank
Dell. Isaiah Likely before that.
I'm kind of like the idea of Mac Jones now over those guys. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah. I think Mac's the guy.
Yeah, me too.
And it's such a I haven't done this, probably my 3rd or 4th BBM. Like, it's such a cheap. I mean, you can get the entire New England passing attack in like the second half of the draft. Like,
right.
Such a cheap stack. They play the Bills. They're going to have to throw. Although I say that they threw a league record low one time against them 2 years ago and won the game. But
still, people point that out like you're doing, but most of their other games have been very different from that. Like the Bills have scored at will against New England, as you know, and the Patriots it hasn't been like that, so badly.
Right. No, I know.
In higher scoring games in that matchup. Even, if it's super cold, I mean, one playoff game was like record cold and the Bills scored a touchdown on literally every possession. So,
I know.
I mean, you have to have New England keep up. Wonder if Mac Jones will even make it to week 17. But maybe you get some game. We've got 2 of his receivers. The correlation's there. I would want to do that.
Listen, forget everything we just said. Just draft Will Levis because he'll be playing week 17, and we got Derrick Henry. Let's go.
Did we draft a Texan? Did we get Mechie? We didn't. We drafted Thornton instead, so we are out on that. Just Derrick Henry alone from that game. That's fine.
That's all you want. That's all you want. It's so funny.
We're gonna need him to carry us to the playoffs.
Sure.
Which he's done for people in his life.
Right. Yeah, that's right. A bunch. It's so funny. You get to this point in the draft. It's like, it's the 18th. It's our last pick, but you're just like dying for Mac Jones to make it now. Like
I know.
30 seconds couldn't go any slower.
There goes Sam Howell.
I saw the purple. There we go. We did it.
Mac. All right.
Mac attack. Yep.
Well, I don't love everything about it. It's hard to get the ones where you love everything about it, but it's interesting. Here it is. 3 quarterbacks in the end. We went 3, 5, 7, 3. Carr, Kyler Murray, and Jones. All of them are stacked. Derrick Henry, who's naked Derrick Henry here on this team. Nobody else from that last game. Jahmyr Gibbs, same thing. We didn't draft any Dallas guys ultimately. Alvin Kamara, part of our big Saints contingent. Rashad Penny and Ezekiel Elliott. We'll see what happens there. little bit thin, but that's what happened. Up, Olave, DeAndre Hopkins, naked Jahan Dotson. Is it right to call anybody at any position naked at any round? Like, they're all just naked unless they're correlated, or is that just more of a quarterback term? Anyway, too late now. I said it. Michael Thomas. So, Kamara, Olave, Thomas. Juju with Mac Jones and Tyquan Thornton. Let's see. Goddard, Arizona, Philadelphia, week 17. Knox, New England, Buffalo. Cade Otton, New Orleans, Tampa. So our tight ends are entirely correlated plays. Thoughts? Grade? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think we did okay. I think we did, we did what we had to do. We correlated, we stacked, and that's just how it works. You don't know how the draft's going to always play out. So you kind of did the best you can. And it's funny how one pick with one player, we take Kyler Murray when now we're locked into three quarterbacks and all this different type of game theory type stuff. So, that's how you got to play these things. It's so much less player takes and more like just strategy around the stacks and the schedule and stuff like that.
Murray will be so interesting. I mean, we don't know for sure whether he'll miss, it could be the whole season. It could be very little. Like, we haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything anyway. It's not that time of year, but
right.
You wonder, like, we could get really lucky with him. New coach, and they still have the receivers. They spend more money at wide receiver than any other team. Hopkins lasts. It could be good. I mean, I think it would be kind of incredible if he's on the field right away. But we'll see. All right. Well, thanks for riding along with us today. Mike and Adam here in the deep end. Please follow, subscribe, watch, comment, all that fun stuff. And hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend. We'll be back next Tuesday at the latest, it would seem, for that. But we'll try to be a part of your Memorial Day weekend as well. So that's coming up. Thanks for being a part of our show today. See you next time.
See you guys.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.